When we think about leadership, we're always trained to focus on the external battles, the market, the competition, the bottom line. But what if the greatest war you'll ever fight, the one that really determines if you win or lose, is the one happening right between your own ears? Today, we're going to talk about how to become a cognitive captain. And this quote right here, this is our jumping off point. Because as a leader, every critical decision you make, your own resilience under pressure, and the very culture of your team, it's all being shaped and sometimes totally sabotaged by these predictable, almost invisible glitches in your own thinking. All right, let's just dive right in. Our brains, yours and mine, are hardwired for efficiency. They use mental shortcuts or heuristics to get through the day. But here's the catch. Those same shortcuts have a massive downside. They lead to systematic, predictable errors. And look, this isn't some personal failing. It's just a feature of being human. The real problem is the absolutely staggering cost when these errors go unchecked in a leadership role. So this forces us to completely reframe how we see things. Forget the idea that understanding your own mind is a soft skill. In the world we live in today, it's a core strategic imperative. Your ability to lead, to innovate, to adapt, heck, even to survive, it all depends on your ability to navigate your own psychological terrain first. Okay, to make this all a bit more concrete, our guide for this explainer uses this really powerful metaphor, the two-headed dragon. It's the perfect way to visualize the two main kinds of mental errors that can absolutely plague any leader in their organization.
And there it is. This dragon is the embodiment of all that flawed thinking that tanks the quality of our decisions. See, one head represents strategic blind spots. These are the errors that mess with your strategy. And the other head? That represents thought traps. Those are the internal negative loops that just destroy your personal resilience. Both are incredibly dangerous, and as we're about to see, they are deeply, deeply connected.
So let's break this down a little further. Strategic blind spots, they're all about how you see the external world. Think of them like a faulty compass. These are the mental shortcuts that point your entire organization in the wrong direction. Thought traps, on the other hand, are totally internal. They're the irrational stories and patterns in your head that create stress, burnout, and anxiety. For example, a huge strategic blind spot is confirmation bias. That's when you only look for data that supports what you already believe to be true, and you ignore everything else. A classic thought trap? Oh, that's mind reading. You get a one-line email from a colleague, and boom, you're instantly convinced they think you're incompetent. One sabotages your company's strategy, the other sabotages your relationships and your own sanity. Now, I get it, this can all sound a little abstract. So let's make it real. What actually happens when a leader just lets this two-headed dragon run the show? Well, the cost isn't just a bad quarter, it can be a catastrophic company-ending failure. Just look at this chain reaction. Back in the day, the CEO of Montgomery Ward had this unshakable belief that a huge depression would follow World War II. He was falling victim to a cognitive error called the representativeness heuristic, basically assuming the future would be an exact copy of the past he'd lived through. This one error led to one massive decision. Don't expand, don't build new stores. And the consequence? Sears expanded like crazy, and Montgomery Ward lost its market share forever. A single flawed thought, a devastating result. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? These errors, they don't sink the ship in one go. No, they're the subtle one-degree miscalculations that over time steer you so far off course that by the time you realize it, you're hopelessly lost. So if our brains are basically wired to make these mistakes, what are we supposed to do? How do we fight back? Well, the good news is we are not helpless. We don't have to be victims of our own thinking. There's a practical, proven toolkit we can all use to build a powerful reality-checking habit. The core solution has a fancy name, metacognition, but don't let the term intimidate you. It's actually a really simple idea. It's the practice of thinking about your thinking. It's about developing the skill to notice a thought and then creating a tiny bit of space between that thought and your emotional reaction to it. That space, that's where you take back control. And this isn't just about vague navel-gazing. It's a structured, four-step process called cognitive restructuring. It's like a workout for your brain. First, you identify the automatic negative thought. Second, you give that thought trap a name. You identify the distortion. Third, you dispute it like a lawyer with cold, hard evidence. And finally, you create a rational rebuttal, a new, more accurate thought to replace the old one. Let's put a key tool from that toolkit into action right now. Socratic inquiry. It's basically just asking yourself tough, evidence-based questions. So that thought pops into your head. This whole project is a complete disaster. You stop and you ask yourself question number one: what objective, verifiable facts actually support this belief? The next question is just as critical. You have to actively play detective against your own negative thought. So you ask, what data points, what small wins, what facts out there directly contradict the idea that this is a total disaster? And finally, this last one, honestly, this might be the most powerful question of them all. It's called the best friend test. We are almost always our own harshest critics, right? So this question forces you to step outside of your own head and ask, what would I say to my best friend if they were in this exact situation? Suddenly, you can access a kinder, more objective, and usually far more accurate perspective. And I want to be crystal clear, this is not just some feel-good exercise. This has real life-or-death consequences. There was an oncologist who used these very principles to create a culture where doctors felt safe enough to discuss their mistakes openly. The result? A stunning 12% decrease in patient mortality in her unit. That is the real-world power of winning this inner game. Okay, so mastering your own mind is step one. That's huge. But true leadership means scaling that resilience across your entire organization. The mission evolves. You go from being the captain of your own thoughts to becoming the cognitive coach for your entire team. So what's the end game? What does this look like? Well, the goal is to create what's called a vital organization. This is a culture that's defined by deep trust and mutual respect, a place where there's a genuine belief that its people are indispensable and where the values are actually lived every single day, not just printed on some poster in the lobby. That's the prize. And to get there, you have to do two things at once. You've got the hard issues, your systems, your technology, your org charts. But lasting, meaningful change only ever happens when you also tackle the soft issues, the inner world of your employees, the corporate culture, the shared values. You can have the best tech on the planet, but if your culture is broken, you're going absolutely nowhere. And all of this brings us to the final, crucial mission for any leader today. This kind of work, it's not a one-time project. It doesn't have a clear finish line. It's about permanently embedding a new capability into the very DNA of your organization. See, the ultimate goal here isn't just to fix today's problems. It's to build an organization that is capable of continuous self-renewal, one that learns, adapts, and regenerates itself as a core part of what it does, not just as a panicked reaction to the next crisis that comes along. I absolutely love this quote from the philosopher Henri Frédéric Amiel. It just perfectly connects the vitality of a person to the vitality of an organization. That capacity for self-renewal, that is the very definition of being alive. And that leaves us with one final big question to reflect on. Is your organization defined by rigid, defensive, and predictable patterns? Or is it truly alive, capable of learning, growing, and renewing itself day after day? As a leader, that choice begins and ends with you.